We want to talk about today a little bit about current events and how it's affecting our life in a way that each and every one of us is facing with some type of a chaotic situation in their life. Some people, they face that every day, some people once a week, some people 10 a day. And just today, just how we left the journey that we had to take us to the previous lecture. Anything that can go wrong went wrong, and that's only when I see stuff like that, it just makes me understand, okay, I'm going in the right direction, because if things go smooth, then I'm not going on the right direction. When you're going to the right direction, then everything will go wrong. Now, in our life, unfortunately, we find many distractions, many obstacles, many chaotic situations that questions, well, am I going on the right path? Why is that happening? Why is my life going in such of a way that it seems like maybe I'm going on the wrong way? And I'm sure that if we would run a survey now, everybody will raise their hand that their life, there's some type of a chaos in their life. I don't think anybody can say, what are you talking about? My life? As smooth as it can be. No such a thing. I don't believe that anybody can come and say, oh, my life is going great right now. Money is just falling from all directions. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. Life is just shining on me. And I don't think anybody can say such a thing. And I'm not saying it chas v'shalom in a way to mock anybody or to make fun of anybody. But the situation is that we're all dealing with something in our life. One person has challenges with money, with parnasa, with livelihood. Another person has a challenge, they can't find their other half. Another person has their other half, but all day long they're fighting. Another person has issues with sicknesses and diseases, and each one has something to deal with, and drama, and all day long you have what to deal with. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean that you're mean, doesn't mean that God is punishing you. It just means that right now we're very, very close to the time when Moshiach is coming. How do we know? Because we have dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of sources showing that the redemption is on the way. And I know many people say, what are you talking about? We've been hearing about this already for years. Why now? So, first of all, we're already past the due date. We know that when Moshiach has to come, there's 2 dates when Moshiach can come. One of them is the due date, like a pregnant woman that gets a due date from the doctor. And then there's another date where it can come faster. But nevertheless, according to the sources that we have, then we're already way past the due date. So a woman that is pregnant and she's past her due date, she's very uncomfortable. Baruch Hashem, I have 6 kids, and every time my wife is pregnant, she goes till the last moment that a baby can survive in a stomach. Then all my kids come late. Maybe they're just very comfortable in there. But every time, in the first one, the second one, it was a little bit of nerve-wracking. Third one, we were already more relaxed. Fourth one, Fifth one, Sixth one, just wait for it, will come. And the last child we had, Baruch Hashem, a beautiful girl. So we went to the doctor every day. The doctor gets very uptight. This is not good. This is very dangerous, and we have to operate right away. And my wife and me are very calm. It's okay. The last one came out. This one will come out too. Don't worry. Nobody stays in there. But nevertheless, the redemption is already very, very late. And I can tell you that a woman that is past her due date, she's upset, she's angry, she's uncomfortable, she can't sleep, she can't walk, she can't do anything. Needless to say, the pain and the tension. So we're already past the due date. And as a result from that, the entire world is not at ease. So when something is relaxed, then everything else is relaxed with it. But right now, the world is shaking. The whole universe is shaking just because of that. So it's affecting everybody. It's affecting everybody in a way that it's penetrating into my own personal life. I just need to understand why it's coming in what way it's coming, and what do I need to do in either to live with it or ignore it or to better it. Now, I know it's not going to be such good news, but it doesn't mean that life will get any better because of a secret code and everything will work out. Till Moshiach comes, it's just going to become more pressure and more pressure. Why? Because Hashem wants us to already scream for Moshiach to come, so it will come because of our merits, not because it's the time to come. Now, one thing that we wanted to talk about is what's going on in some current events. And I always like looking at stories or different points that we can find in our scripts, whether it's in the oral Torah or prophets, and to see how it was already prophesied 2,000 years ago for something that is happening now, and we can see with our own eyes that it's happening. And that is one of the ways, one of the many ways how we get our proof that more or less where we are in the generation. So there are many prophecies and many stories in the oral Torah and mainly in the Zohar. There's so much sources and so much prophecies and so much points that one can see how it was said 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 2,500 years ago, and how it's connected to our day. So, for example, there is a certain Amora, a certain sage that is well known in the Talmud. His name is Rabbi Bar Chana, and he, in many places, he has all these kind of weird stories that he shares. And the stories sound very far-fetched. They don't sound real at all. But nevertheless, in these stories, there are a lot of hidden meanings. One of the famous stories that I'm sure some of you maybe have heard, this can be found in the tractate Baba Batra, specifically in page 73, where he says that one time they were on an ocean, on a boat, on a ship, and they were going on the ship, and suddenly they saw from afar away a beautiful island. They decided to stop the ship and go to the shore. And they stopped the big ship, however way they did it, whether they swam, whether they took little boats, whatever it is, and they go to the shore of this beautiful island. And they're on the island, they're walking around, they're marveling the beauty of the island, and suddenly the whole island starts shaking. What's going on? Is that an earthquake? No. They're on the back of a whale. And they're talking about a huge island here. And suddenly the whale starts moving and they're thrown into the water. And he says, if the ship that we came off was not so close, so to say, to the shore, to the whale, we would for sure be drowned already. And then of course they were saved. And of course when you read this story, and I'm just telling you the short version of the story, but when you read this story, you say, come on. What are you? You expect me to believe this? You went off a ship into an island, a beautiful island, and suddenly the island is the back of a whale, and the whale starts moving and you almost drown? I mean, it sounds to me not real, and it also sounds, okay, maybe there's a meaning behind it, maybe a metaphorical message behind it. But nevertheless, there are many different interpretations. There's a beautiful interpretation specifically by an individual called the Malbim. Malbim, his name is Rabbi Meir Leibush, and he lived about less than 200 years ago. And he was born in 1809, so he lived less than 200 years ago. And he takes this story from the Talmud and he says, you should know that this story in the Talmud is a hint and a prophecy about the days before the redemption is going to come. And he says, at the end of days, right before Moshiach is going to come, there's going to be a nation. And this nation is going to be, so to say, conquered under our control. Now, we would think that we have control over this nation, and we would think that we have not only control, that it's conquered and we have control over it, but nevertheless, this nation is going to turn around on us, and the same way like the whale, so to say, turned around and threw us into the ocean, the story, this nation is going to turn against us. And without us even noticing, it's going to turn against us and above us. And of course, we don't have to be such creative to understand who's this nation we're talking about, that we think that they're under our control. But nevertheless, it says, the story says, if the ship wouldn't be so close to us, then we would drown. He says the ship is referring to the redemption. If the redemption wouldn't be so close, we would drown a long time ago because of this nation. And because this nation would drop us into the water, into the ocean. They would throw us into the ocean a long time ago. If the redemption wouldn't be as close as what the story says, that the ship is close to us. But nevertheless, it says very clearly that this is a hint. All these stories of Rabbi Bar Chana, that they always sound like fairy tales, very deep hints in them, and specifically this one is going on the time of the redemption. And we see, you don't have to go so far, just open the news, just see what's going on with this little nation, that they're not even a nation, and what problems they're doing. Such a little nation, and you would think, oh, what, I can't handle a few kids here? Obviously we can't handle these few kids that are going and turning against us, and if chas v'shalom, the redemption wouldn't be as close as possible as it is, then we would be a long time ago already in the ocean. Now, there is a place in the Zohar, specifically in Parashat Vayera, this can be found in page 32, that it's talking about two of the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi, and they're walking on a path. The story says that Rabbi Chia suddenly he sighed, like, Yossi turns to him, why are you sighing in the middle of the walk? Now for us, we have to relate with it. So sometimes two people are driving in a car, one is busy with WhatsApp, the other one is busy with Facebook. They don't talk to each other, they're just talking to their phone, and then they're texting each other. And then in the middle of this digital conversation, suddenly one goes, what's wrong? Why are you doing No, I just thought about the situation. But nevertheless, Rabbi Chia suddenly sighs, and Rabbi Yossi says, what's your problem? Why are you... So he says, I'm thinking of a certain verse that can be found in the Torah, and it's causing me to... He says, oh really? What's this verse that you are so troubled by? So he says, there is a verse in the Torah that says, Vatihi Sarah Akara, and Sarah was barren, she couldn't bear any kids, Ve'en lavlad, she doesn't have a baby. That's what bothers you. It happened many years ago. To understand that Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi were talking about 2,000 years back from now, and Sarah talking 2,000 years before that. Why now, suddenly out of nowhere, you're walking on the path, and it bothers you that Sarah didn't have a baby? But we know she already had a baby. Why are you going into the past? So Rabbi Yossi tells him, why are you sighing? So he says, because our Hashem did a lot of our forefathers, most of our forefathers and matriarchs were barren. They couldn't have kids. And with Sarah it was different. Not only that she didn't have kids, she didn't even have a womb. So even when she wanted to get pregnant, it was impossible. How would you carry a child if you don't even have a womb? So we found also another very interesting case, also in our history, of another lady that didn't have a womb. This is Ruth Moaviyah. We also know about her that she didn't have a womb. But nevertheless, even though Sarah didn't have a womb and she couldn't have a child, nevertheless, Avraham Avinu was a very great tzaddik, and he also had a lot of connections in many different places. And he was able to see in his, what's called astrology, he was able to look in the stars and to see that he will never have a child. Nevertheless, one time, Avraham Avinu had a conversation with God, and God tells him, come out of your tent, and I will show you. And he shows him all the stars, and he tells him, can you count the stars? No. He says, okay, so your children, your offsprings, your generations after you, will be as many of the stars. Now, and he says, go out of your tent. Now, physically he told him to go out of his tent. Spiritually, he took Avraham out of the universe. Avraham Avinu was a great tzaddik, so the Kadosh Baruch Hu took Avraham Avinu out of the universe, above the stars, and he says, in the stars, in the constellation of the stars, yeah, you're not going to have a child. But above that, if you go above your limitations, you will have a child. But nevertheless, Reb Chia was very troubled because he said, we have a nation, there is a nation that the maidservant of Avraham Avinu, Hagar, she brought to us. This nation is called Ishmael, of course. And Reb Chia wasn't so happy with this nation. So Rabbi Yossi told him, why, what do you care? So what? So what if this Hagar brought this nation? So he says that later on, Sarah brought Yitzchak. That's what Rabbi Yossi tells Rabbi Chia. He tells him, what's your problem? So what if Hagar brought a child and because of that came a nation? Sarah also brought a child and from that also came a nation. This child is Yitzchak. It says when Sarah got pregnant, she said, Tzchok asa li Elokim, God has made joy for me. And then she continues and says a very interesting part in the verse, and she says, Kol hashomea yitzchak li. Every person that hears that will laugh. Really, she says, the translation is, whoever hears will rejoice over me. Because what kind of a miracle? A 90-year-old woman gets suddenly such a miracle and she can bear a child. So, in English it might sound good. In Hebrew it doesn't make sense. The way she says it. She says, Yitzchak li. Anybody who will hear it will rejoice with it. Yitzchak li. It doesn't even make a sense in Hebrew. So, the commentaries explains that Yitzchak means it's going on the child, but Yitzchak also in Hebrew is to laugh. But the commentary says Yitzchak leyud, Yitzchak li, la yud means to the letter yud. What is this yud? Sarah's name originally was Sarai. Later on she changed the name from Sarai, not she. God changed her name from Sarai to Sarah. And Sarai was the one who couldn't have a child, but Sarah was the one who had the child. So the laughter, the rejoice went on specifically on the Yud, meaning Sarai is the one who doesn't have a child and Sarah is the one who has a child. Just sometimes all it takes is to change a letter. We talked about it last week in the lecture about the names. Sometimes all it takes is a letter and suddenly everything changes in your life. But nevertheless, the story says that the Yud of Sarai came to Hashem and says, whoa, what are you replacing me like that? I was attached to Sarai. What is going to happen to me right now? You're just going to fire me? So Hashem says, no, don't worry. Because later on, Moshe Rabbeinu took that Yud. If you remember a few weeks ago, we read Parashat Vayishlach. And Moshe Rabbeinu sends spies to the land, and then he takes Yoshua, who was his servant, and he told him, your name should not be called Hoshea anymore, it will be called Yehoshua. Moshe Rabbeinu took that Yud that was belonged to Sarai, and he gave that Yud to Yoshua. And then it says, Vaikra Moshe leHoshea binun Yehoshua. So he took that Yud and he gave it to Yoshua. Why? Because he told him, Yudke, Hashem, Yoshiacha Matzat Meraglim. The name of Hashem that is in your name is going to help you not to fall into the disaster of the spies. Now, when Rabbi Chia was very upset about this whole situation, because he said these Ishmaelim, this nation, are going to stop us and hold us from settling in the place where we belong. And we see that in the last 2,000 years, we couldn't settle the land of Israel. We were kicked out of the land of Israel. And who was settling it? All sorts of different nations. And now when we finally want to come back, look how much headache we have specifically from this nation of the Ishmaelim. The Ishmaelim are the sons of Ishmael. These are the nations of the Muslims around the land of Israel. From the declaration of the country of Israel 70 years ago, they are not allowing us to settle there. But nevertheless, it says in the Zohar, in Parashat Vayera, page 32, and it says, Atidim b'nei Ishmael lishlot, in the future, the sons of Ishmael are going to control the land, and they're not going to let you come into the land. And it says that 400 years, the angel of Ishmael stood in front of Hashem, and he was bargaining. Every nation has an angel. Every nation has it's called a minister. The minister of each nation. Some call it a minister, some call it an angel. But nevertheless, the minister, the angel of Ishmael, of the nation of Ishmael, stood in front of Hashem for 400 years. And they said, how come you're not giving us the portion of our land? So, and they came with a good excuse, and they're saying, any person that is circumcised has a merit in the land of Israel. So, why? Because a person that does circumcision has a piece of Hashem's name on their body. And the angel, the minister of the nation of Ishmael said, okay, we also circumcise ourselves. Why don't we have a part in the land? So Hashem says, no, it doesn't work like that. Because the nation of the Jews, they make their circumcision when they're 8 days old. And the Ishmaelim, they don't do it right now. In the olden days, they used to do it when their child was 13 years old. In our generation, if they'll do it to a 13-year-old child, the 13-year-old child will beat up the surgeon and the father. So now they do it also in a young age. But nevertheless, at the time when the story occurred, then God answered the minister and says, no, the nation of Israel, they circumcised when the child is 8 days old, and you when you're 13. Not only that, you're missing the main part of the circumcision that is called pri'ah. Pri'ah means when you peel the foreskin. And you don't do that. That's what God answered to the minister of the Ishmaelim. And you don't do it. And he says the nation of Israel, they do it. Now it says in the same place in the Zohar that the sons of Ishmael are future to cause 3 wars. And we talked about it in length in a different class and many other times about what are these 3 wars that the nation of Ishmael is going to cause. But the Zohar says they're going to cause 1 war on the ocean, 1 war on the land, and 1 war very close to Jerusalem. So they're both 2 wars in the ocean and in the land, they already occurred. And which many different interpreters, such as the Gaon from Vilna and the Chafetz Chaim and many others, said this is referring to the World War I and World War II. But the 3rd war, that is going to be very close to Yerushalayim, you don't have to be a genius for that. In Syria right now, there's a very serious war. Don't listen to what CNN and Fox show you, because they're not showing you anything. I live 40 kilometers from the border. I can tell you better than CNN what's going on there. So there is a serious war going on in Syria, and all the nations are there. It's not only a few troops from a few armies. You have a very serious war there. Now the media is not going to show you what's going on there. This is not like the land of Israel that there's more reporters than soldiers. In the Syria, any brave reporter that would land on their soil will give him about 3 seconds to take his last breath. So I literally live 30-35 kilometers from the borders. I can tell you how many times a day we see the jets flying, and how sometimes we literally feel the ground shaking, and this is not an earthquake. This is from the battles there. So it says in the Zohar that the nation of Ishmael, the Muslims, they're gonna take us to 3 wars, and the last war will be very close to Yerushalayim. It's not going to be in Yerushalayim, not going to be on Yerushalayim. It's going to be close to Yerushalayim. So Syria is pretty close to Jerusalem. Nevertheless, it does say in the Talmud, when you want to learn a lot of information about the end of days, there's a certain tractate in the Talmud, Masechet Sanhedrin, and there's 1 page, specifically in page Tzadik Chet 98, where it says there, Amar Rav is one of the sages, it says, En ben David ba, עד שתשלוט מלכות ישמעאל, המלכות הראשונה על ישראל 9 חודשים. The son of Ben Ishai and Ben David, the Moshiach, is not going to come till the control. He uses the word Malchut HaRish'ah, the rulership of evil, will control the world for 9 months. Why specifically 9 months? I explained it in another lecture, specifically how it's referring to a woman that is pregnant, also 9 months. But nevertheless, it says it's going to have to be control of this evil. It doesn't mean a kingdom, doesn't mean it's necessarily a country, but a power. Malchut Arisha, the nation, the power of evil is going to control for at least 9 months. And it says in the Zohar, in the same place in Parashat Beshalach, specifically in page Nunchet 58, and it says there that all the ones who ever did anything wrong to the nation of Israel, Kol Ela Sherutzeru LeIsrael, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to resurrect them all, bring them all back in this generation in order to pay their debts. So we have Sancheriv and Nebuchadnezzar and Haman and the list goes on and on. All the stars that in the last 3,000 years were bothering the nation of Israel. The Zohar says that right before the redemption, Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to resurrect them all. So all the leaders of our generation right now that are against the nation of Israel, there's a very good chance that each and every one of them is a reincarnation of one of these leaders from the past. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu says that the Zohar says, in the name of the Hashem, that all these leaders are going to be resurrected. This is a commentary by Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Ramak, who says, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring them all back to punish them for all the bad things that they ever did. There is a midrash about the certain verse of Tehillim, very famous Tehillim. This can be found in chapter 2, where it says, Lama ragshu goim, why have the nations gathered? Why are the nation gathering? Have you noticed when the nation gathered? They're now all gathered somewhere in New York. It's called the United Nations. Some united. But nevertheless, this is a pretty new thing. They gathered not too long ago. And everybody thinks that the United Nations is a very nice organization and they care about human rights and they worry about the well-being of the world. Needless to say, it's the biggest mafia in the world. They don't worry about nothing. If they would worry about nothing, there wouldn't be hunger in Africa, there wouldn't be starvation in Asia, and there wouldn't be wars around the world. But they look who's running the show there. You'll see there's no united and no nations. Nevertheless, so there is a verse in Tehillim that says, Lama ragshu goim. Why did the nations gathered? And then it says, Uleumim yehegurik. Why do the kingdoms, they think vain things? This is a verse in Tehillim that was written 2,500 years ago by King David, and he already foresaw in his level of Ruach HaKodesh of prophecy that at the end of days, the nations are going to gather again together. Now, a lot of people think the United Nations, they have something positive towards Israel. They don't. Every day, they just condemn Israel. Every day, they go against Israel. All the nations that are in the United Nations mostly are enemies of Israel. Okay, so 7 years ago, they voted for Israel to get to get its own country. But if you're really following what's going on in the United Nations, you'll see Syria, that they're mass killing there. Hundreds of thousands of their citizens. Nobody hears anything. Have you ever heard in the newspaper how many hundreds of thousands of Syrian people are being butchered every day in Syria? No, why would you hear such a thing? It's normal, and then the Jews are not involved in there in any type of a way. Why would it be hitting the headline? But if Chas v'Shalom, an Arab kid will get arrested, oh my God, the nation of Israel, they arrested a kid. It's a kid. So, nevertheless, 2,500 years ago, King David was like, why are the nations gathering together, and why are they thinking all these vain things? This is what the verse says. There is a midrash that was found 1,750 years ago that if you read the midrash, you think you're reading the news. Literally like that. You're reading a book that was written over 1,700 years ago. You actually think that you're reading the news. Now, there are 3 places in the Talmud that are bringing very clear signs how it's going to look before Moshiach comes. One of them can be found in Tractate Sotah, very short tractate that only has 50 pages. Page 49 tells you all the signs how it's going to look before Mashiach comes. Another tractate, Sanhedrin, page Tzadik Zayin 97, tells you also how it will come, when it will come, what's going to happen, how it would look. You don't have to be a genius to figure out what it's saying there. And another place in the Talmud, in the tractate called Chagiga, page 14, these three tractates in the Talmud are giving you very clear synopsis how the world would look right before Mashiach comes. Now, in Tractate Sotah and Tractate Sanhedrin, it's very equal to each other, kind of the same. But in Tractate Chagiga, it says, first of all, when Mashiach is going to come. But more than that, it gives much more deeper information. There is a commentary by a certain individual, a great tzaddik called Rabbi Meir Abulafia. He's also known as the Rama, not the Rama from Pano, and not the Rama Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, not the Rama of the Shulchan Aruch. Rather, he's 800 years ago, he lived about 800 years ago in Tveria. Very big Mekubal. At the time, it wasn't so common that the Mekubalim would be so known. Now we know a little bit more about them, at least 500 years ago, 400 years ago. 800 years ago, nobody knew if somebody is a Mamasha Mekubal. But nevertheless, his name is Rabbi Meir Abulafia. He's also known as the Rama. And again, don't confuse it. There's another two people that we name them as Rama. Rama is an acronym. One of them is the Rama from Pano, and another one is Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, who's known as the Ashkenaz Shulchan Aruch. And at the time when the Bet Yosef wrote the Shulchan Aruch, about 450 years ago, this great tzaddik, Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, lived in Poland, in Krakow, and he heard that the Sephardi rabbi is writing a Shulchan Aruch, so he also started writing a Shulchan Aruch. And then at some point, look at what a level of righteousness of the Rama, that he figured out that it's going to cause a lot of problems in the nation. The Sephardi, the Ashkenaz, he took everything that he wrote and he burned it. So there isn't the Shulchan Aruch for the Ashkenaz. Rather, there's the Piskei Halacha, the commentary of the Rama. Rama, again, is the acronym of Rabbi Moshe Isserlis. The ones who follow the Shulchan Aruch, or they learn Halachot, if you're Sephardi, then you follow the Shulchan Aruch, the Bet Yosef. If you're Ashkenaz, then you follow what the Rama says. Nevertheless, this individual, Rabbi Moshe Abulafia, we also called him the Rama, he says, based on this tractate in Sanhedrin, page 97, and he says that at the time, he says, looking at the simanim, at the marks of the hints of what it says there, he didn't understand how then Mashiach didn't come. So he says, so much more so 800 years later, oy va'avoy, what's going to be there 800 years later? So there is this midrash that it says that Esav is laughing on Cain. Cain, unfortunately, you know the story with Cain. Cain didn't like his brother Hevel so much. Different stories. The Torah says something very simple, that Cain brought his offering, Hevel brought his offering, Hashem turned to the Hevel's offering, and Cain got jealous, and he killed his brother. There are other more details why Cain killed his brother, and one of the reasons is Cain was born with a twin sister, and Hevel was born with two twin sisters. So Cain didn't like it. Why is he getting two twin sisters and I'm only getting one? So you see, even in the beginning of time, there was always fighting over women. But and then there was another problem with real estate. You know, the guy owns half of the world, and why are you standing on my line? Come on, you own half of the world. There's 7 people in the entire universe. You care about your line where he's standing? So we see fights always start with women and real estate. But nevertheless, Cain stood up and he murdered his brother. And of course, after he murders his brother, the story says that how did he kill him? He stabbed him. The commentary explains that he stabbed him 300 times because he didn't know where the soul will come out from. He knew the soul will come out from one of the wombs, but he didn't know from where, so he stabbed him 300 times. So, nevertheless, after he kills his brother, God turns to Cain and tells him, where is your brother? He tells him, what do you think? I work for him. I'm his secretary. What do you mean? I don't know where he is. But nevertheless, Hashem says the screaming of your brother is coming from the ground. You killed him. Nevertheless, it says that Cain, that this Midrash says that Esav, he was laughing on Cain and says, look at that fool. He killed his brother while his father was still alive. This is Esav laughing on Cain. That's what the Midrash says. That Cain, what a fool he is, because he killed his brother while the father was alive, meaning referring to Adam. So, and he says the father was still alive and he was able to bring more kids to the world. And look who he brought. He brought his son Shet into the world. Now Esav says, I wanted to get rid of my brother Yaakov. I didn't do it while my father was alive. I was waiting. If you remember the story, when Yaakov took the blessings from Esav, and Esav says, I'm going to wait till my father dies, then I'm going to go kill my brother. So Esav says, at least I waited till my father died to kill him. The Midrash says that Paro came. The Midrash is basically talking about the different levels of the Gehenom where all these people are. Cain and Esav and Paro. So each one is in a higher level in Gehenom. So says the Midrash that Paro comes and he laughs on Esav. And he says, while your father was still alive, your brother was fruitful and multiple. You were waiting for Yaakov for Yitzchak to die, and in the meantime, Yaakov is procreating. He has 4 wives and he's bringing kids into the world. What a fool you are! You could have killed him already. But nevertheless, Paro says, you were waiting so long to kill him. I already made a decree that any man, any boy that is going to be born should be thrown into the Yeor. Kol haben alelo yishlacho. They're going to throw them in. The Midrash continues and says that Haman was laughing on Paro and says, you fool, you only killed the males? What about the females? Why didn't you kill them? That's how you kill a nation? What, you just throw the males into the river? So Haman was laughing on Paro. And he says, you wanted to get rid of a nation, you only threw some of them into the river. That didn't work well for you. I made a decree, Nashim, Anashim, Vataf, everybody. I was about to kill them all. Anyways, Haman says to Paro, so to say, you should have killed also the females. Also the females, they caused the problem, because Moshe Rabbeinu came from one of the females. All you need is one female, that's it, it's enough. Nevertheless, it says the Midrash, that in this Midrash, Gog Magog was laughing on Haman. Gog Magog is, many ways of explaining Gog Magog, but Gog Magog is a king that's going to rise at the end of days to go against the humanity, against Israel, cause wars. But nevertheless, it says in the Midrash that Gog Magog is laughing over Haman, and he says, that's how you destroy a nation? You want to destroy a nation, you try to destroy them from below? That's not going to work. Gog Magog says, if you want to destroy the nation, you know what you have to destroy them? You have to destroy them from the root, from above. Now, Gog Magog says there is a patron. Patron is an angel that protects us. And he says, you trying to kill the nations, you want to kill the nations, the bodies, like Haman wanted to do? That's not going to work for you. Go to their source and kill them from the source. And why? Because Gog Magog says there is an angel that stands in the heavens and he protects this nation. So as long as they're protected above, nothing's going to happen down here. And you see that Haman wasn't successful. He wasn't able to do anything. So what is this Gog Magog saying? Gog Magog says, and this is in the Midrash, he says, I'm not trying to kill them like you, Paro, Haman tried to do. You know what I do to them? I teach them to hate each other. And I teach them to have jealousy against each other. And you know what I cause them to do? I cause them to talk bad about each other, Lashon Hara. And I cause them to lie about each other. And I'm causing them to hate each other from inside. They're going to destroy themselves. And this is what Gog and Magog says in the Midrash, and he says, I am smarter. I'm going to cut them away from their source. I'm going to move them away from their source of life, and by default, they will be destroyed. It's just a matter of time. First of all, they're going to just hate each other. They're only going to be involved in sins. Gog and Magog says, I'm going to be able to cut them from the root. And for that, the Midrash says, who's the ones who are going to be saved from the war of Gog and Magog? And we mentioned that many times. Gog and Magog doesn't have to necessarily be war of missiles. I gave a different lecture in the past that Gog and Magog, Gog comes from the word in Hebrew, gigim. Gigim is thoughts. And I gave a whole lecture how the war is not necessarily has to be missiles. The war is what was going on in our thoughts. We all have a war of thoughts in our mind. What's going on in my thoughts all day long, Hashem Yerachem, Hashem should have mercy on us, and what's going on in our thoughts. But nevertheless, who's the ones who are going to be saved from the war of Gog and Magog at the time that Mashiach is ready to come? Any person that is calling in the name of Hashem. Person that is holding on the name of Hashem, he's the only one who's going to be saved when Mashiach is going to come. Jews and non-Jews, doesn't matter. As long as you are calling the name of Hashem, you're going to be saved when Mashiach is coming. This is what the Midrash says. And it continues in saying that in the Talmud, excuse me, in the same tractate in Sanhedrin, page 98, it says there, Amar Rav, Amar Yosef, Rav said at the time, and in the name of Ula, another sage, and he says, Yate velo achminei. I'm waiting him to come, but I don't want to see him. I don't want to see how it's going to look when Mashiach is going to come. How the generation is going to be before Mashiach is coming. I'm waiting for him to come, but oy va'avoy how the generation would look, and look how the generation looks. And he says there that Mashiach is sharing a very interesting a common denominator with another force that is called a snake, a nachash. The one who caused the first sin was the serpent, Nachash. And Mashiach and Nachash, they have the same numerical value, 358. And what are they connected to each other? How is the Mashiach is connected to Nachash? Nachash is a snake, is the serpent, the first one who caused the problems in Gan Eden. Then it says that Mashiach is not coming from a lineage of righteous people. Mashiach is coming from a very, very negative place. And Mashiach is really is going to be a Baal Tshuva, because he's coming from a Klippa. If you go back to where Mashiach is originated from both sides is coming from a very bad place. If you backtrack the lineage of Mashiach all the way to the beginning, he's coming from forbidden relations from Lot and his daughters. Because the Mashiach is coming from the house of David, and the father of David, Ishai, and his father, Oved, and his father was Boaz and Ruth, and Ruth is from the nation of Moab, Ruth Moaviyah, and who's the father, the mother of the nation of Moab is Lot, the nephew of Avraham Avinu, who had marital relations with his daughter in the cave right after they destroyed Sodom. So Mashiach is coming from a very deep, very so to say dark and bad place. Just as comes to teach us that Mashiach, as great as he is coming from not from a lineage of tzaddikim, of righteous people, rather he's coming from the side of Klippa. It says in the Zohar that any person that mourns on the destruction of Yerushalayim, then that person will merit to see the building of Yerushalayim. This is said in Zohar Parashat Beshalach, in the Parsha Beshalach, page Nun Hey 55, and he's quoting a verse that it says, "Kol tzofaich nasu kol," that the sounds of the ones who are expecting the Mashiach, they will carry the message. So now we're in a very auspicious time, in the 3 weeks where we commemorate the destruction of both temples. And it's a time that we have to cry for the destruction of the temple. And it says any person that commemorates and cries for the destruction of the temple will merit to see the rebuilding of the temple. It says it in the Talmud, in Tractate Brachot, page 49, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu remembers that we are stuck amongst the nations. And when he remembers that we're stuck around the nations, he has 2 tears that come out of his eye. This is what it says in the Talmud. The Zohar comes and says that these two tears are boiling hot tears, like water that is boiling hot, but boiling hot tears. These tears, they fall into the ocean. That's what the Talmud says, but the Zohar says the ocean, it's referring to the Sphira of Malchut. This is how the Sphira is called in the world above. It's called an ocean. And what it does, it trembles the entire world. And this is where the Zohar comes and explains where earthquakes come and where tsunamis and floods come. I don't know if you noticed, but last week there were 4 earthquakes in the north of Israel. I just left my home in Tzfat, and I'm getting all the messages. There was an earthquake. It wasn't a serious, Baruch Hashem. There wasn't any damages. But there was an earthquake, and we see many earthquakes. I just read in the news, I think yesterday, there was a huge flood in Japan. There's constantly these earthquakes and floods. This is where the Zohar says that it's as a result of the tears that fall out of the eyes of God when he remembers that the nation of the Jews are amongst all the other nations. And Hashem what is he crying? He's crying because there is a very severe sin that a lot of us fail in every day. It's called Bitul Torah. That we can learn Torah and we don't. That I have time to learn Torah, and instead of that, I'm watching some cats breakdancing on Facebook or whatever nonsense that they show there. So now if you're busy working, then this is not considered Bitul Torah. I have to work, I have to support my family. Or whatever other thing that you're busy with. You have kids, if you take care of the kids. But if you have a free hour, and instead of learning Torah, you're watching junk on what's going on the internet, and really the quantities of junk are just becoming worse and worse. I mean, people send me videos all day long, like as if I have time to watch them, and really I just see how it looks. It's pathetic that people find time to watch dancing cats and all sorts of nonsense, like real nonsense. And you know, it's always makes me shocked. You see a video of a good Torah class, it has like 124 views. But a view of somebody falling off his bike and breaking his bones, 500 million views, because somebody fell off his bike and he's rolling on the floor in a funny way. That's how pathetic our situation is. That's what causes people to waste their time. And everybody's smiling. I understand from the smiles that everybody's like, yeah, well, I also waste about 3 hours a day on all this nonsense. But what can you do? It's very funny. So, you know, Facebook is like a pit that has no end. That because I call it the finger syndrome, because you go like this and you go like this and you go like this and it never ends. Same junk over and over, and people are trapped into this pit, and this is what the Kadosh Baruch Hu is laughing. He's not laughing, unfortunately. He's crying. He's crying about Bitul Torah. That's what the Talmud says. That's what the Zohar says. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is crying that instead of learning Torah, why are you wasting your time on this junk? Learn Torah. I'm not telling you to become now the chief rabbi of London. I'm telling you just learn a little bit of Torah. Nevertheless, it says in the Zohar in Parashat Shmot has a lot of information about the coming of Mashiach, but one thing that it says there that it's a little bit scary, that it says Misken, poor is the one who is going to be at the generation when Mashiach is going to come. Now you would think that the Zohar would say, oh, lucky is the one. Yeah, lucky if you survive. Misken means the poor person that has to go through what they have to go through when Mashiach is going to come. Because this generation is going to be a complete storm of emotions and chaos. And 2,000 years ago, the Zohar already says, I feel bad for the ones who are going to have to deal with the situation before Mashiach comes. It says in the Zohar, in Parashat Shmot, it's going to be so dark in this generation that it will cause that to a point that it's like as if everything is permitted. And this is what's going on in our generation. There's no boundaries, there's no limits, there's no rules. Everything is permitted. You want to do something, go ahead. You want to behave a certain way, that's fine too. And the Zohar already saw it 2,000 years ago. It says that right before Moshiach is going to come, same place in the Zohar, in Parashat Shmot, that there's going to be a lot of problems, what they say in Hebrew, tzarot. I think they say it in Yiddish or in a Ashkenaz accent, tzures. It's going to be a lot of problems, a lot of headaches. And it says specifically, people will not get married. People will not understand the Torah that they learn. This is not that I'm saying that. I'm quoting books written 2,000 years ago. There's going to be so much issues, so much problems. There's going to be no boundaries, no limitations, that the problems are going to be in our day-to-day life. And amazingly, what it says 2,000 years ago. People will not get married. Why would somebody say 2,000 years ago that problems will be that people don't get married? Unfortunately, a few months ago was Purim. We had a beautiful party. We have a beautiful center in Tzfat. We had a big party. And at some point I stood up. Everybody's drinking wine and alcohol. It's Purim. It's a freebie. Everybody just drink as much as you want. So it's like legal today. So I stood up and I was giving blessings. So I blessed that person and that person and that person. And before I know it, I found myself that all the blessings that I'm giving everybody in the room is to get married. And then I looked around and I told my wife, look at that. There's only have 2 married couples here. The rest are single. This is not a normal situation. Why people have it such difficult to find their other half? Tomorrow we're going to have another lecture here around the corner about how you find your other half. But why should it be in our generation the problem that people cannot find their other half? So a lot of people say, maybe something wrong with me. No. The generation is so dark that it was already prophesied that at the time before Mashiach is going to come, a lot of the problems we're going to have, people are not going to be able to get married. This is a very severe problem. I can assure you that I'm sure a lot of you can relate. It causes a lot of hardship. I see people in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, they can't find their other half. This is mamash yisurim. This is hardship that the person has to go through. Why can I find my other half? Why can I settle down? Why can I have a family? Why can I have kids? It says that people are going to learn Torah, they're not going to understand anything. And again, I'm just quoting what the book says 2,000 years ago. That people are going to learn Torah and not going to understand anything. I can guarantee to you, I have a yeshiva. I have men sitting and learning with me every day. I look at their faces, they're like... And then I'm seeing you're not following what I'm saying. I'll say it again. And the eyes are like... And this is chas v'shalom, not to make fun of anybody. How many times you went into a Torah class and you understood what the speaker is saying? You went out of the room, somebody tells you, what was the class about? Well, it was very interesting. But what did he talk about? About why? I have a student that he's in the secular world. He has I think 2 or 3 degrees, very wise individual. And he sits in my classes and he tells me, I don't understand one word from what you're saying. I'm not a stupid guy. I'm a very academic, I have a very mathematical mind. I have 3 degrees. I don't understand one word from what you're saying. This is what I tell him, because the Torah is not geography or mathematics or biology. And it says 2,000 years ago that one of the problems, people are going to learn Torah, not going to understand one thing. And when you don't understand, then it causes you not to do anything. It says another interesting thing, and again, this is quoted 2,000 years ago. That's why I said you read some of these scripts, you feel like you're reading the newspapers. It says that time will be wasted. Look how much time a day we waste every day. Just imagine how much time a day you waste, whether it's WhatsApp or Facebook or all the rest of the junk. Sometimes I see people checking their emails 17 times every hour. What are you checking emails so much? Were you expecting an email from Donald Trump? Why you check your I check my email once a day. And I get like 5,000 emails. I don't even check my emails. Once a day I go and I look and check, read whatever I need to read. Some people, every ding that the phone does, a triple flip on the phone. If chas v'shalom, the phone is about 2 meters away, that's already can cause a serious problem. Where's the phone? Where's the phone? So this is waste of time. Just imagine how much time a day you waste. And again, don't feel I'm coming to attack anybody. I'm coming to open your eyes to understand, wait a minute, my life is a chaos. And again, I'm pointing at myself and anybody else. Everybody's life is chaos. Don't think you're the only one. And I told you, one person, their chaos is that they can't make ends meet. They're struggling with money all day long. They barely can pay their rent. They owe money to credit cards or whatever it is. Another person, like we just mentioned, can't find their other half all day long, from this event to that event, from that matchmaker to this matchmaker. And again, your life should not be like this. And if it's not a problem with that, then it's a problem with the relationships. And then how many times, look how many distractions you have all day long. I'm not joking, our system, we get thousands and thousands of emails every day, whether it's coming from the social media, email accounts, websites, it's all funneling to the same place, thousands of emails. A lot of people tell me, hey, I emailed you, why didn't you answer? Well, I don't even answer, I don't even look at the emails. Besides, we have another 2,000 emails that came before you. Be a little bit patient, we'll get to you. So, I told that once, a few months ago in a lecture, that my system, we get thousands and thousands of emails. You know what's the shocking part of the emails that we get? I never got even one email that somebody says, hello, I just wanted to report that everything is fine. All the emails are disasters. Disasters. People are going through disasters. I never got one normal email of people saying to me, I just wanted to tell you everything is fine, the weather is great, everything is amazing, I'm happy and good and healthy, and all the emails are devastating stories. So the reason why we want to acknowledge it is because, first of all, nobody should live like this. And nobody should go through a disaster in their life. And I hear from so many people that even if the disaster is not necessarily finance or in that department, how many people they have so much drama with relationship with the parents, with the mother, with the neighbor, with the this, with the that, and all day long. People are pulled into all these arguments, pulled to all these disagreements, and everybody have a fair share of their chaos in their life. Now, to step outside for a second from this chaos, it's not that you're doing something bad. It's not that you are a bad person, or that a lot of people say Hashem is punishing me. Hashem is not punishing you. Hashem is not a third grade teacher that if you speak, he slaps you on your hand. Needless to say that when you're doing certain actions, you bring on yourself a reaction. There's no question here. A lot of people don't understand. Somebody emailed me not too long ago why people are going through so much hardship. And I told him because 50% of the time they bring it on themselves. If you go on all day long, you slander other people, or you talk lashon hara, you badmouth other people, don't think your life is going to be so smooth. And if you go and you cheat in business, or you lie, or you dishonest, or you're taking advantage, and a big problem that we have in our generation, people are not aware of, is how severe is what's coming out of my mouth. I've noticed an amazing thing in our religion, in our faith, that anything that comes into the mouth is observed in many, many different ways. You look at an observant individual, they will dissect a leaf with 2 magnifying glasses and a light to find a microscopic bug, maybe, on that leaf. And people walk around with magnifying glass to look at the supervision. Is this actually good? Is this banats? Is this, what is this? So what goes into people's mouth, people care a lot. Oh, I don't eat this, no, this meat, I don't eat that hechsher, no, it's not for me. But what comes out of our mouth, there's zero filter. There's not even one filter there. The junk that comes out of people's mouth, the lashon hara, and the slandering, and the lying, and the cheating, and the cursing. I've never seen anything like this. This is not normal, the curses that comes out of people's mouth. Sometimes it's shocking me. Why? You know, an average person will bump their toe on the edge of the table, right away, whoop, they throw a curse. All sorts of words. And I'm going to start quoting those words. Why do you have to say such a word because your leg bumped into a corner of a table? Or even worse than that, sometimes you're driving, somebody cuts you in the road, you curse him and his mother, and you know already his mother's profession, and you already cursing the entire family with any disease that exists in the world. Why? Maybe the person is in a rush, maybe he didn't even notice you. So what's going out of our mouth is devastating. And this individual that asked me why so many bad things happening, so I said because people don't even notice how they behave. People don't even notice how they behave. They come in the morning and they pray. They put tefillin on, they put a talit on, they keep kosher, they observe Shabbat. But the junk that's coming out of their mouth, this is like digging yourself a hole. So, but on the other hand, the storm of the coming of Mashiach is causing everybody's life to be a chaos. So on one hand, I mean, it's important with what information you come out of the lecture. I mean, you didn't come here there's no refreshments here, so you didn't come for refreshments. You obviously came for some words to go out of this door to penetrate into your mind. You have to understand that a portion of it, you have to take responsibility. The Talmud says that if a person has Abayim al Adam Yisurim, a person has too much hardship, yefashpesh b'maasav. Look in your actions what you're doing. Because if you have all sorts of hardship, doesn't matter right now what it is, it really doesn't matter. If it's finance, if it's relationship, it's marriage, whatever it is. You have hardship, you're suffering, check yourself. Maybe you lie, maybe you cheat in business, maybe you take things without permission. This is a problem in our generation that I don't think people are educated enough. There's a concept that is called gezel. This is not theft. This is when you take something from somebody or you cause somebody a financial loss in a way that whether they're aware of it or not. This is very severe. People bring on themselves tremendous problems because of gezel. And people say, oh no, I didn't steal anything. Not too long ago I gave a class about that, and one of my students, she told me, she was asking very good questions, and she told me that one time she went on a road trip and they stopped. This is in America. I don't know if you have the chain here in England. It's called 7-Eleven. Some chain that you buy all sorts of drinks and whatever food. And she told me that she was planning on having a barbecue. And she took, that place, they sell all sorts of hot dogs, or I don't know how they call it in England, but these, they call it hot dogs too? Okay. So nevertheless, she went to the counter there and she took these little bags of ketchup. And she left. And she asked me, is this gezel? I said, yeah, this is 100% gezel. Who allowed you to take these bags of ketchup from there? Even though each one of them costs 10 cents. You don't even understand the disaster you're bringing on yourself. Souls come back in an incarnation because they owe somebody 10 cents. Because you took a bag of ketchup without permission. So even if you go to the person in the counter and you say, can I take this bag of ketchup? He's not the owner. He can't give you that. If you buy something there, then you have the right to take it. But you can't go into a restaurant and take their salt or their sugar, definitely without permission. Some people go to a hotel and they go out of the hotel with souvenirs, with all sorts of things. This is not for you to take. Some people take the shampoos from the hotel. You're not allowed to take that. This is gezel, by the way. Unless you go to the counter or to the manager and says, I love the shampoo in those little bottles. Can I take one home? If he tells you, yes, you can take one home, it's yours. If he doesn't, this is gezel. And this is very, very severe. So when chas v'shalom, hardship comes to your direction, check yourself. You might be very observant. You might be the first one in shul. You might be very particular with kosher. You might be very observant when it comes to Shabbat and modesty and many other things. But people fail with all these things that seem somewhat big deals. I took a bag of ketchup. What's the big deal? So I said a lashon hara about that individual. It's true. I didn't invent anything. It's true. Lashon hara, it's true. If you're making up a lie, that's already slandering. But if I say something that is true, I didn't lie. But that's lashon hara. So first of all, when hardship comes to my direction, check yourself. Check that you see that you are bemet 100%. And if not, then fix it. But you have to understand that a big part of it, of this storm, about this chaos that's in our lives, is because Moshiach is at the doorstep. And it's already about to happen. And it's good. The energy of the universe is causing this to happen. This should just cause me to strengthen myself to understand, wait a minute, Mashiach is coming any second. How do I want to be caught when Mashiach comes? Do I want to be caught here in this shul learning? Or do I want to be caught on Facebook watching some donkey breakdancing? I mean, you have to decide where you want to be when Mashiach comes. It's going to be a horn. Mashiach is going to come. Eliyahu Navi is going to blow the horn. the whole world is going to hear it. The whole world is going to be shaking from this horn. And don't think this is some fairy tale, some promise. This is real. You have to be completely ignorant not to look around the world and see that all the signs are showing that Moshiach is coming any second. All the nations, everybody believes that. Moshiach is not only coming for the Jews. Moshiach is coming for the entire world. But you have to constantly make a calculation. Where am I standing? Mashiach is coming today. Am I ready to greet Mashiach? Am I going to survive when Mashiach is going to come? Or I'm going to be in the back row? So the chaos in my life is for me to understand that, wait a minute, I have to get my act together. This is not the time for me to waste time. This is not the time to sleep in. This is not the time. This is the last push. At the end of the race, you're getting the last push to say, okay, this is the last energy, whatever I can give. So it's extremely important to understand that a lot of people say, give me sources. It doesn't matter. There's so much sources. There's so much information. There's so much details in the prophecies and scripts showing and hinting and telling us exactly how it's going to be. What is going to give you a few references. You can go and read it themselves. There's no point of me sitting here for 3 hours and giving one source after the other. I did that already once in different lectures, but I was giving a lot of sources, what the source says. And you know what I found? From thousands of people who watched these lectures, neither one of them opened the sources to see what I said. So I can come and say whatever I want. And maybe 2 people actually open the book and says, oh, you're right. You're right. Well, of course I'm right. What do you think? I'm inventing it? So the point is not to necessarily pull out sources and to pull prophecies. Because when somebody doesn't want to believe, they'll contradict even that. The point is to understand that why do you think our life is so chaotic? Forget about now my own actions that are bringing on myself a reaction. It's now the whole ground is shaking. And when it says that the Kadosh Baruch Hu, when Hashem is crying and 2 tears are dropping into the ocean, it's causing the whole world to shake. In one way, yes, that can be explained that there are earthquakes. I mean, this planet has experienced so many earthquakes in the last 10 years. Every day there's earthquakes. We're just not necessarily following what's going on. But an earthquake can also be in a very symbolic and metaphorical way that my whole life is shaking like an earthquake. One day I have this problem, I figure that out, the next day there's another problem. I figure that out, the following day will be another problem, and every day another drama. And I'm going from one drama to another chaos to another problem, and sometimes the 3 at the same time. And you find yourself like saying, oh my gosh, just stop. So the point we have to take from that is, first and most important in the personal level, is I have to really look in my actions. What am I doing? Is Hashem happy with what I do? And I can't complain. If life is throwing at me a lot of challenges, I have to understand that a lot of it is my own action. And of course, a lot of people say, listen, but I do what Hashem tells me. I come 3 times a day and I pray and I do this and I do that. That's very nice of you, but maybe you're missing one little detail. Maybe that's one little act that you're doing and you're not even noticing that that's the one that's causing all the air to come out. But more than that, we have to understand that Moshiach is getting close every day and every day. The whole world is unstable. Governments are collapsing, the currencies are collapsing, businesses are falling. It's only to show you Mashiach is coming. Don't waste your time. It says the Kadosh Baruch Hu is crying on one thing, on the waste of time. And this you really see with your own eyes. Just make some type of an account. How was your day? And keep a log for 1 week. What you did the entire day. I can guarantee to you, you will see how much time you're wasting. You can't even imagine how much time you're wasting. Valuable time. Time that can be applied to learning Torah, time that can be applied to helping other people, time to be applied to spending time with other people. Most people, they don't spend time with their loved ones. Parents barely spend time with their kids, husbands with their wives. The time is so valuable, our time is so precious. And why would you want to lose all this time? It's almost like when you're going to a vacation. You have 5 days in a certain place. You wake up early, you tour the place. You don't want to waste your time. I'm telling you, put yourself to the challenge. Take yourself a notebook and write yourself some type of a log, what you do all day long. I guarantee to you, you're going to find at least 2-3 hours, if not 4 hours or more, of hours of every day that you just wasted your time. How many times you find yourself at 2 a.m. on Facebook? I mean, if there would be a camera on you, how you look when you're on Facebook, it'd probably be another good video for people to look. People are hypnotized. Sometimes they see people like, it's like as if the screen swallowed their neshama. Yeah, and just the finger. You know, if an alien would look at us, we'd be like, what's going on with this with this universe? Something with a finger. The finger goes down all day long. So, Chas v'shalom, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I'm just trying to make a point, because I also sometimes find my day is very, very tight schedule. And sometimes I do find, oh my gosh, I just wasted 3 minutes here on this nonsense. I don't like wasting my time. I find my time extremely, extremely valuable. And a lot of times people like schmoozing and talking, and I'm very, okay, cut to the chase, get to the point. You know, a lot of times I take calls every day, 2-3 hours a day, I take calls, people ask questions, meetings, and sometimes people come and they tell me their whole life story, and I'm like, get to the point, tell me the question. I mean, I don't need to hear about your Aunt Lucy and your cat and your, doesn't matter, just get to the question. There's no time here. You know, they say in America, I don't know if they say it here in England, time is money. Every moment here is valuable. There's no time now to schmooze. So, this is what hurts Hashem in this generation, is the time is so much waste of time. So the point you want to take from tonight, you already made an effort to come. You have to understand that Moshiach is around the corner. This is not a joke. This is not another point of sale. There's no selling anything here. Is you have to understand that any moment Mashiach is going to come and the whole world is going to change. And you have to ask yourself and say, what am I doing? How am I involved here? How am I going to be when Mashiach comes? You don't want to be the one that you hear the announcement, you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's still another minute and 20 seconds to the video. I'm not done. So it's extremely important that you value your time. It's extremely important that you understand in what place in the universe we are positioned. We are in a generation that thousands of people, sages, were waiting. Just imagine how many thousands of years people were waiting for this moment to happen. Prophets and sages and great leaders, and we are the ones who are going to see it with our own eyes. We are the ones who are going to see with our own eyes how the redemption is evolving in front of our eyes, and we can't let this Gog Magog, this king, this power of evil that we mentioned in the Midrash, that he's laughing on Haman and he's laughing on Paro and he's laughing on Esav and he's laughing on everybody. He says, that's how you kill a nation? You're going and trying to kill them in this world? Go and uproot them from their source. But this Gog Magog is constantly going to be busy to throw you off your focus. Whatever you try to do, he's going to come and create a distraction to cause you to not be focused on what you're supposed to do. And he's causing all these disagreements and all these arguments and all these hate and lashon hara and slandering. And he's trying just to get you off your focus, because when you focus, then you concentrate on your Torah, you concentrate on the mitzvot you have to do, you concentrate on what you need to do. Just imagine how many times you were about to sit down and learn, and how many distractions stop you from coming and learning. How many times there was a class, you're supposed to come to the class, the phone rang, the WhatsApp, the this, the that, and you didn't get to the class. You came at 5 minutes at the end of the class. What did I miss? The whole thing. So you have to be very on top of the game and to understand that the forces of evil are trying to constantly get you off your focus. And you have to understand how valuable your time is, and that every moment here counts. I know it sounds like something that is hard for us to understand, but any second you can get this message, Mashiach is here. Are you ready? You have your bags already? Are you packed? So, B'ezrat Hashem, I hope you take some of the words and you not only come in to the room and go out of the room the same way. If you leave this room the same way, then you wasted your time. You literally wasted your time. You could have done something a little bit more efficient. But be smart and take the words that were said here out of the room and say, okay, how am I applying into my life? And I can guarantee you that if you apply even 50% of what I said today to your life, by default your life will be a little bit more organized, more calm, more more normal, less chaos. Because even though the world is chaotic, the ones who are already living in the state of redemption, they're above this chaos. Elevate yourself. When you elevate yourself, you'll see that life comes down a little bit. Nobody needs to live in this chaos. And it's all about how you apply it into your time, into your life. Is what can I do from tonight, not starting at the end of the summer when things are now, tonight, what are you applying in your life? What mitzvot are you adding? How much more Torah are you adding to your daily learning? It can be another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be 20 hours. If you can handle 20 hours, good. But if not, then take 5 minutes or 10 minutes. How many times a day you find yourself wasting your time? Monitor your time. Okay, so instead of being on Facebook for 3 hours, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, check your messages, watch some dog dancing and move on. So you have to apply it to your life, because at the end of the day, the one who benefits from it is only you. And when you find yourself bumping into too many dead ends and too much chaotic situations in your life, you're the one who has control over it. So it's all about applying it practically into your life. You know how to apply it. And I didn't say such sophisticated things tonight. Just take it and apply it. Just don't waste your time. Just focus on what you need to do in your service to Hashem. Make sure that you're not giving any opening to any forces coming from the outside with these little things that most people don't pay attention to. The lying and the cheating and the cursing and Lashon Hara and all this junk that's coming out of our mouth. Our mouth is deadly. Our sages say that the life and death is in the hands of the tongue. Just sometimes it's about being quiet for a few hours. You'll be quiet for a few hours, you're already saving yourself from a lot of problems. So the point is just to apply. Our sages say, "Ha'maseh hu ha'ikar." The action is what counts. Saying things in theory is nonsense. It's a waste of time. A lot of people, they like talking in theory. Don't say theory, bring it into action. What am I doing today? How am I applying my time, that my time is going to be much more calculated? No waste of time, no schmoozing. I'm not telling you to become a robot. Some people, for them, it's like too much overwhelming. No, I can't do anything. I'm not saying don't do anything. Just be very, very smart with how you're using your time. Be very smart with how you're conducting your life. I can guarantee to you that the chaos in your life is going to start coming down and things are going to fall into place. It doesn't mean life will not have any challenges. There's a lot of people say, oh, if I do that, there's not going to be any more challenges. And I'm not saying that. Life is constantly going to be full of challenges, but at least you know how to deal with it. If you know how to deal with it, then the challenges they're minimizing. If you don't know how to deal with the challenges, that's the problem. It doesn't mean challenges will disappear. You just need to know how to deal with it. But nevertheless, when you know how to deal with it, then life is with the challenges. It's more calm and things get achieved. And you're able to move on, you're able to move forward, you're able to do much more things. So really the only one who benefits from it is only you. It's only how you have to have some time management here and some organized schedule, how you schedule your day. And I can guarantee to you, just put it to the test. If you leave it in theory, nothing's going to happen. You put it into to practicality, you'll see that life is becoming smoother and better. And needless to say that our point is to hasten the redemption, is to bring the redemption much, much faster, which that in itself is another goal that each and every one of us has to put our mind to, is how am I involved, what am I doing to bring the redemption faster? And of course this requires for me to be more observant, to follow the Torah, to learn Torah, to have unconditional love to other people, not to judge people, not to be jealous of people, not to hate people for no reason, to bring unity between people. And each and every one of us has a big role here. You don't have to become the next chief rabbi of the universe. You just have to be a normal human being. You see two people arguing, try to bring peace between them. You have an argument, don't get yourself into an argument. Don't get yourself into a disagreement. Make sure that you're bringing more connections and disconnection and disagreements and so forth. So we all have to apply something. It's not, the responsibility doesn't fall on the leaders of the generation. If it will be in the hands of the leaders, then we won't go so far. It's in our hands. And when things become hard, then that should inspire people to become much better individuals, so they will have responsibility how hastening the redemption. Bezrat Hashem, Bemet Hashem should bless you all, that you have the awareness, the ability, the time, the common sense, and the tools to apply it in your life. because it's very hard for me when I look, sometimes I look at people without even them open their mouth. I look at them, I see already the chaos all over their face. And it's just overwhelming. There's a smile, and the world thinks everything is good, but there's no smile. It's just a mask hiding the problem. So you have to understand that you have a control in it. Nobody should live like this. Nobody should, even though I know the chaos is part of the pain of Moshiach coming, but one can already elevate themselves above that. So put it to the test, put it to actions, and you'll see that your life becomes a little bit more smoother, things fall into place, things work out a little bit better, and it never hurts to have a good mentor that helps you and guides you and tells you what one needs to do. B'ezrat Hashem, bemet, if you put it to action, then I can guarantee to you life will be better, smoother, and I only left to wish you all to merit to see the coming of Mashiach with their own eyes and to be part of the redemption and to be involved in the redemption, that when Mashiach comes, he can give you a thank you note and telling you thank you so much for all your effort. I don't think you're not going to get a thank you note. And if chas v'shalom you don't do anything or you're not involved, then that also is going to come as, why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you try to do something? Why didn't you bring more love into the world, or unity, or Torah and compassion? So we have a very serious task here. This is a fight already for survival. This is not something that you need to say, okay, whatever, let other people do it. I'll do it tomorrow. So we got to take things in a more serious way. B'ezrat Hashem, I'm sure that if you put your mind to it and you do the best you can, Hashem is going to make you successful in everything that you do and bless you with great health and wealth and happiness and success, and everything that you do should turn to become a very prosperous thing, and Hashem should bless you with only good and kindness and love and health and wealth, and only you should see good in your life and clarity in your life, and you should all merit to only experience good and positive things in your life.